The knock that changed his life. It was a quiet night. The wind moved gently through the trees, and the stars shined above the mountains. Jack lived alone in a small wooden cabin far away from the city. He liked the peace. No noise, no people, just silence. After dinner, he sat in his favorite chair near the fireplace, reading an old book. The clock on the wall ticked slowly. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Jack froze. No one ever came here. No one even knew this place existed, not unless they were lost. He waited, thinking maybe it was the wind. But then came a second knock. Soft, slow, and heavy, like someone was using all their strength just to knock. Jack stood up carefully. His hand moved to the drawer where he kept a small flashlight and an old knife. He didn't expect trouble, but he had learned to be careful in his past life as a soldier. He walked to the door and opened it slowly. Standing there was a tall figure. Her skin was pale blue, and her eyes glowed faintly like stars. She was not human. In her arms, she held a small bundle, a baby. The child's eyes were also glowing, but brighter. The woman's face was tired and full of pain. She looked at Jack, as if searching his soul. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Then, with shaking hands, she held the baby out toward him. Jack stepped back. He didn't know what he was looking at. Was it real? Was he dreaming? The woman took one small step forward, then collapsed to the ground. The baby started to cry, a strange sound, like music and wind mixed together. Jack dropped to his knees. "Hey, are you okay? Can you hear me?" He touched her neck. She was still alive, but barely breathing. Her body was cold, too cold for this world. He lifted her into his arms and carried her inside. He placed her on the couch, then looked at the baby who now lay on a blanket near the fire. The child stopped crying the moment Jack looked into her eyes. He picked up the baby slowly. She was warm, light, and glowing. There was something about her, something that felt safe, even familiar. The woman on the couch opened her eyes for a second. Her lips moved again. This time, Jack leaned closer. "Protect her. They're coming." Then she closed her eyes and stopped breathing. Jack sat there, frozen. Protect her. Who's coming? What did this mean? He looked outside. The wind had grown stronger, and in the sky, far away over the mountains, he saw a light. Not a star, not a plane. It hovered, then moved fast across the sky before disappearing behind the clouds. He turned back to the baby. She was now asleep, glowing gently, her small fingers holding onto the edge of his shirt. Jack had no idea what he had just stepped into. But one thing was clear: this child needed him. He wrapped her in a soft blanket and placed her in a small basket near the fire. He covered the alien woman with a sheet and sat on the floor, watching the baby. His mind was racing. Should he call someone? No, he had no signal here. The nearest town was 5 hours away, and the snow was already starting to fall. Even if he could call, who would believe him? An alien woman, a glowing baby, and a ship in the sky. Jack looked at the baby again. She looked peaceful now, like any human baby would, but he knew she was not from this world. He sighed. "What did you bring to my door tonight?" The baby made a small noise, almost like a laugh. Jack felt something stir inside him. Not fear, not confusion. Hope. He didn't know her name, where she came from, or why someone was chasing her. But in that moment, Jack made a choice. He would protect her, no matter who or what came looking. The child with star eyes. The storm outside had grown stronger. The wind howled through the trees like wolves calling to the night. Snow began to fall fast, covering the ground in a thick white sheet. Inside the cabin, the fire crackled gently, casting warm light across the room. Jack sat in silence, staring at the glowing child sleeping in the basket near the fire. The baby was unlike anything he had ever seen. Her skin was soft, but not like human skin. It shimmered slightly, almost like moonlight. Her hair was silver, and her tiny fingers sometimes sparked with small lights, like stars dancing on her skin. Jack had seen many strange things during his years as a soldier, but nothing like this. He hadn't slept. He couldn't. Too many questions filled his mind. Who was that woman? Where did she come from? Why had she brought her baby to him? Most of all, who was coming? Just before dawn, something strange happened. The fire in the cabin suddenly dimmed. The temperature dropped quickly. Jack stood and checked the windows. Outside, the snow had stopped. But the silence was strange. It was too quiet. No birds, no wind. Even the trees seemed frozen. Then the baby's eyes opened. They glowed brighter than before, deep, golden lights swirling like galaxies. She looked straight at Jack, but it felt like she was also looking through him. Jack stepped closer, unsure of what to do. Suddenly, the baby lifted off the blanket. Slowly, gently, without making a sound, she floated in the air. Jack's heart raced. "What? What are you?" he whispered. A soft hum filled the room. Lights danced around her body. Then, in a single flash, a pulse of energy exploded from her, silent but powerful. The fire flared back to life. Books on the shelves shook. The window cracked. Jack fell backward from the shock. The baby landed softly on the blanket, now sleeping again, as if nothing had happened. Jack sat up, breathing hard. What did he just witness? Then he heard it. A noise. Not from the baby. Not from inside. It was coming from outside the cabin. A low humming sound. Like an engine, but not from any car or plane he knew. He moved quietly to the window and looked out. Far down the snowy path, he saw it. A small black object, round, floating a few feet above the ground. It moved slowly, scanning the area with a red light. A drone. But not human. Not military. Something else. Something alien. Jack moved back from the window. Had they already found her? Was that what the woman meant when she said they're coming? His cabin had no weapons, only old gear and tools. He grabbed a thick blanket, wrapped the baby, and placed her in a small pack. He needed to hide her, fast. There was an old storage cellar beneath the floor. He had kept it locked for years, full of supplies and old memories. He pulled up the wooden hatch and climbed down with the child. The air was cold and damp. He placed her gently in a corner and covered her with another blanket. Her eyes opened slightly but made no sound. "Stay quiet, little one," Jack whispered. He closed the hatch just as the red light from the drone reached the cabin wall. He sat in a dark corner, breathing slowly, listening. The drone hovered outside for several minutes. Then came a knock. Not from a human hand. 3 hard taps. Pause. Then 3 more. Jack didn't move. He didn't speak. He listened. The drone knocked once more. Then it moved around the cabin slowly, scanning. Jack held his breath. After a while, the hum of the drone faded. Jack waited a few more minutes before climbing out of the cellar. The drone was gone. But now he knew. They were looking for the child. And they were close. He walked outside and found strange marks in the snow. The drone had left behind tracks, symbols burned into the ice. Glowing circles and lines Jack couldn't read. Alien writing. When he returned to the cellar, the baby was awake, her glowing eyes wide open. She looked at him and raised her hand. Suddenly, the glowing symbols outside the cabin disappeared, burned away, erased. Jack stared at her, shocked. "You did that." The baby giggled softly. Jack sat down, his mind spinning. This child had power, real power, and someone wanted it badly. He couldn't run forever. He had to learn more. But first, he had to give her a name. "Nova," he said softly. "Your name is Nova." The baby smiled. And somewhere, far above the clouds, a massive ship turned slowly toward Earth. Nova is not like other children. 5 years passed. The forest around Jack's cabin changed with the seasons, but one thing stayed the same. Jack and Nova were still hidden, living in silence, watching the skies. Jack had become a father, not by blood, but by heart. Nova grew faster than any normal child. By the time she turned 5, she looked like a 10-year-old. Her hair stayed silver. Her skin still glowed slightly in the dark, and her eyes, those deep golden eyes, could stop anyone in their tracks. But Jack never let her go near the town again. Not after what happened last time. It had started like a normal morning. Jack needed fuel, batteries, and fresh food. The cabin couldn't run on canned beans forever. Nova had begged to come along, and Jack gave in. She wore a hoodie, gloves, and sunglasses to hide her appearance. She promised to stay quiet and follow him closely. Everything was fine. Until the bird. Outside the small shop, a boy was crying. His pet bird had fallen from a tree and broken its wing. People walked past without looking. Nova stopped. She knelt beside the bird, placed her glowing hands around it, and whispered something Jack didn't understand. The bird flapped its wings and flew away. The boy clapped, but an old man nearby saw it all. He didn't clap. He stared. He whispered into his phone. Jack grabbed Nova's hand and left everything behind. They drove away fast, the tires kicking up dust. In the mirror, Jack saw a black van turn into the parking lot. They never went back. Now, Nova spent most days inside or in the woods. Jack built a small greenhouse so she could grow food. She read books fast, too fast, and she remembered everything. Sometimes she would speak in strange words when she slept. Other times, she would draw symbols on the walls that Jack had seen once before, on the snow, the night the drone came. Jack tried to ask her about them, but she only said one word: home. One cold evening, Jack noticed Nova sitting by the river near their cabin. Her feet touched the water, but instead of freezing, the water sparkled and moved like it was alive. "You're not scared of the cold anymore," Jack said, walking over. "I don't feel cold," she answered softly. "I feel everything." Jack sat beside her. "What does that mean?" Nova looked up at the stars. "They're calling me." Jack felt his chest tighten. He didn't want to hear that. He had already lost too much in life. His family, his team, his home. Nova was the only thing left that mattered. "Do you remember her?" Jack asked. "My mother." He nodded. Nova's eyes dimmed a little. Only her voice, sometimes in dreams. She said someone was chasing us. I was special. I had to live. Jack looked at her. "You are special, Nova, but I don't care what powers you have. You're still my little girl." Nova smiled, but her eyes looked far away. Later that night, Jack checked his old radio. For years, it had stayed quiet. He had kept it just in case. Old military habit. This time, it crackled. Static. Then a voice. "Search Team Gamma reporting. Anomaly detected near Sector 13. High energy spike. Scanning for possible target." Jack turned the volume down. The signal was faint, but it was real. Someone was looking. Again. And they were close. He rushed outside and climbed the hill near the cabin. From there, he could see the sky. Dark clouds moved fast, and through a gap, he saw something that made his blood run cold. A red light moving across the sky. Not blinking. Not stopping. Searching. He ran back down the hill. Nova was waiting at the door. "They found us again, didn't they?" she asked quietly. Jack didn't answer. He just nodded. The night they came for her, night fell like a heavy curtain. Thick clouds covered the stars. The wind was loud, almost angry, as it rushed through the trees. The cabin stood alone in the dark, surrounded by silence. But Jack wasn't sleeping. He was packing. Cans, water, batteries, blankets, emergency maps. Years of living off the grid had made him ready. But this time felt different. He had seen the light again. Red. Searching. And the voice on the radio. Search Team Gamma. They were not here for hiking. They weren't here by mistake. They were scanning. And Nova had just lit up like a signal in the sky 2 nights ago when she touched the frozen river. They had found her. Jack moved quickly, double-checking everything. Nova stood near the window, watching the sky. "You're afraid," she said softly. "I'm not afraid," Jack replied, stuffing clothes into a bag. "I'm angry. We've been careful for 5 years. No phones, no internet, no noise, and they still found us." Nova turned around. "We can't run forever." "We don't need forever," Jack said. "Just one more day. One more night. I'll find a new place. Deeper. Safer." Nova looked at him, her golden eyes glowing faintly. "They won't stop." Before Jack could answer, a deep rumble shook the cabin. They both froze. Another rumble. Closer this time. Not thunder. Engines. Heavy, low, slow-moving engines. Jack ran to the window and pulled the curtain back an inch. 3 dark shapes moved between the trees. Vehicles, strange ones, half-tank, half-hovercraft. No headlights. Just red scanning beams sweeping across the forest. Jack whispered, "They're here." Suddenly, a loud voice echoed through the woods. "Attention. Step outside with the subject. You have 60 seconds to comply. After that, we enter." Jack's blood went cold. They knew exactly where they were. Nova didn't move. She just kept staring at the door. "They're not human." "What?" "Those aren't soldiers," Nova said. "They wear human suits, but inside, they are something else. I can feel it." Jack grabbed her hand. "We're not giving you up. Not tonight." He opened the floor hatch to the cellar. "Go." Nova climbed down without a word. Jack shut the hatch and covered it with a rug. Then he turned off the lights and opened the back door slowly. He slipped outside and moved through the trees like a ghost, his old soldier skills waking up again. He reached the hill overlooking the cabin and lay flat in the snow. What he saw made his heart freeze. 4 figures stood around the cabin, dressed in black armor with glowing blue visors, not normal gear. Too advanced, too quiet. Then one of them stepped forward. Not walked. Floated. His feet didn't touch the ground. He raised a device, and the front door of the cabin exploded inward with a pulse of light. They entered. Jack grabbed the small signal jammer from his belt and pressed the red button. It sent out a high-pitched pulse, invisible to the eye, a trick he learned from old contacts. Inside the cabin, the alien suits paused. One turned and looked straight at Jack's hiding spot. "Signal interference detected. Location compromised. He's watching." Jack's eyes widened. He hadn't made a sound. How did they know? The soldier raised his arm and fired a red beam. Jack rolled just in time as the snow beside him melted into steam. He ran downhill, zigzagging between trees. More beams fired behind him, hitting rocks, trees, the earth. He reached the back of the cabin and dropped into the cellar. Nova was waiting. Her eyes were glowing brighter than ever. She wasn't scared. She was calm. Jack locked the hatch and placed his hand on her shoulder. "They saw me. They're too fast. We need a way out." Nova took his hand and whispered something. The walls of the cellar began to glow. Symbols lit up, etched into the stone. Symbols Jack had never noticed in all these years. The earth itself began to hum. "What are you doing?" Jack asked. Nova looked up. "I'm calling for help." Outside, the ground trembled. The sky above the forest cracked open like glass. A beam of light shot down from the heavens and hit the clearing behind the cabin. A ship appeared, huge, silent, and silver, shaped like a falling tear. The alien soldiers stopped. They turned to face the ship. One of them spoke. "The protectors have arrived. The child is not alone." Inside the cellar, Nova smiled. "They're here for me," she whispered. Jack stared at her, eyes wide. "Who are you, Nova?" She looked at him, calm and proud. "I am not just their last hope. I am their beginning." The truth about her people. The light outside was blinding. Not fire, not lightning. Something older, something alive. The ground had stopped shaking, but the air felt charged, like the moment before a thunderstorm. The trees swayed without wind. The snow on the ground shimmered under the strange silver light that now bathed the forest. Jack stood frozen in the cellar, eyes wide, heart racing. Nova stood beside him, calm, her hand glowing faintly. Above them, the ceiling of the cabin creaked, groaned, and then cracked apart. Slowly, carefully, like invisible hands were lifting it piece by piece. No sound of breaking wood, no crashing, only silence as the roof vanished into the air. And then they saw it. A ship, massive, silver blue, floating just a few feet above the cabin, shaped like a giant tear, smooth and quiet. No engines, no lights. It just hung there, glowing gently like it belonged to the sky. A soft beam came down from its center. Not a weapon, not a scanner. More like an invitation. Jack stepped in front of Nova, protective. "Stay back," he whispered. "We don't know who they are." Nova didn't move. She kept staring up at the light. Her golden eyes sparkled. "I do," she said. "They're my people." Before Jack could stop her, she walked into the beam. The light wrapped around her like water, lifting her slowly into the air. Jack reached for her, but his hand passed through the beam like mist. Nova looked down at him. "It's okay. They won't hurt me." Jack's throat tightened. He wanted to shout, to pull her back, to protect her, but something deep inside told him to wait, to trust. A second later, another beam appeared, next to Nova. This one was for Jack. He hesitated, but then stepped in. Inside the ship, everything was quiet. No buttons, no lights, just soft blue walls that pulsed gently with every breath, as if the ship was alive. Jack and Nova floated for a moment, then gently touched the floor. A tall figure stepped forward. Not human, not hostile. Her skin shimmered like polished stone. Her eyes were like mirrors. She wore no armor, no weapon, only a long robe made of silver threads. She bowed her head. "You are the one who raised our queen," she said softly. Jack blinked. "Your queen." The woman nodded. "Nova is the last royal child of the Ilari, the Starborn. Her mother, Queen Elia, fled to Earth to protect her. She was hunted by the Karn, an enemy that destroyed our world." Jack stepped back, confused. I'm just a man. A soldier. I didn't know." "But you did know," the woman interrupted gently. "You knew to protect her. You gave her love, warmth, and safety. That is more than most of our people ever knew." Jack looked at Nova. She was standing tall now. Not scared, not shy. Strong, glowing from within. Nova turned to him. "I remember now. I remember the night my mother ran. The fire, the screams. She held me close and said, 'You will live. You will return. And you will rise.'" The woman touched her chest. "You are Ilari. You are our light." Nova looked up at her. "I don't feel like a queen." "No queen does, child. But you carry our hopes, our power, and our past. That is more than enough." Jack stepped forward. "You said someone destroyed your world. The Karn." The woman's face darkened. "They are not from one place. They are destroyers of life, of memory, of soul. They feed on fear. And now, they are coming to Earth." Jack's hands curled into fists. "Then we fight." The woman looked at him with respect. "You still think like a protector." Nova touched Jack's arm. "We won't fight them alone. I can feel others like me. Hidden, waiting, scared, but ready." Suddenly, the ship shook slightly. A voice echoed through the walls. Multiple Karn ships detected. Entering orbit. Countdown. 20 hours until contact. Jack turned to Nova. This is it. Nova nodded. Then let's give them something they'll never forget, Jack said. The woman smiled. The child you raised is not only a queen. She is a weapon of light. Nova looked down at her glowing hands. No, she said. I am not a weapon. I am a beginning. The power inside her. The alien ship moved silently across the sky. From the outside, it looked like a falling star. From the inside, it was a beating heart, alive, ancient, and waiting. Nova stood in the center of its glowing core, surrounded by a sphere of light. Her eyes were closed. Her body floated in the air. She was listening, not with her ears, but with her soul. Jack watched from outside the chamber, nervous. He had seen many things in war, machines, weapons, even death, but nothing like this. Nothing like her. Nova was changing. The Ilari elder stood beside him. She is reaching out. Her power connects with the ancient memory of the universe. She is remembering who she truly is. Jack looked through the glass. Will it hurt her? The elder shook her head. Not her, but those who tried to stop her. Yes. Nova's body pulsed with soft blue energy. Around her, symbols spun in the air, glowing shapes Jack had never seen. They looked like stars forming a new galaxy. What exactly is she doing? He asked. The elder placed a hand on the wall. She is unlocking the star core. What is that? The elder turned to him. The star core is a hidden force left behind by the first Ilari, older than planets. It holds light that can rebuild worlds, or destroy them. Only a true heir can control it. Jack swallowed. And if she loses control? The elder didn't answer. The silence said enough. Suddenly, Nova gasped. Her body dropped to the floor. Jack rushed inside. Nova. He caught her before she fell. She looked up at him, eyes wide, glowing with new colors. Gold, silver, and something deeper. Something infinite. I saw everything, she whispered. I saw where I come from. What they did to us. The screams. The fire. My mother running through the tunnels, holding me, bleeding. Jack's chest tightened. You don't have to carry that. Nova shook her head. Yes, I do. If I don't, no one will. A loud alarm echoed through the ship. The elder ran to the command platform. They're here. On the screen above, dark shapes entered the sky. Sharp, black ships, moving like blades through space. The Karn. Their ships weren't silent. They roared. Each roar echoed across the sky like a beast hunting prey. They're scanning the planet, the elder said. They're searching for her, and they will burn everything in their path until they find her. Nova stood up slowly. Then we don't hide anymore. Jack turned to her. Nova, if you fight them. I might not return, she said. His throat tightened. Then I'm going with you. Nova placed her hand on his chest. No, you gave me life, Jack. You gave me love when I had nothing. But this part, I have to do alone. Before he could argue, a bright light covered her body. Her silver hair flowed like fire. Her eyes lit up like stars. The star core had answered her call. She wasn't just a child anymore. She was something else. A symbol. A force. Nova walked to the edge of the ship's command deck and looked down at the planet below. They came to destroy, but they don't understand one thing. Jack whispered, "What's that?" Nova raised her arms as the energy around her spun faster. You can't kill light. And then she flew. Not with a machine. Not with wings. With power. She soared out of the ship, her body trailing pure light, heading straight for the dark shapes in the sky. Far above, the Karn commander watched from his throne inside a black crystal ship. His body was made of shadow and smoke. He smiled when he saw Nova. The child has grown, he whispered. Good. Now let's see if she's ready to die. He raised a clawed hand, and 100 warships turned their guns toward her. Nova didn't stop. She raised one hand, and all their weapons failed. Lights shut down. Controls froze. Silence. Then Nova spoke, her voice echoing across the stars. You took my people. You chased my mother. You hunted my light. She opened her hands. Now feel what hope tastes like. A wave of energy burst from her body, bright as the sun, sharp as fire, deep as the ocean. It hit the first wave of ships, and they vanished. No fire, no explosion, just silence. Peaceful, as if they had never been. Jack watched from the deck, his hands shaking. Nova. But then the sky turned black again. The main Karn ship had survived, and it was falling straight toward Earth. Nova floated in front of it, glowing like a second sun. This was the final moment. Daughter of two worlds. The sky above Earth was split in half, light on one side, darkness on the other. Nova floated between the two, glowing like a star, while the great Karn ship descended slowly behind her. It was massive, larger than any mountain Jack had ever seen. Its surface was covered in black crystals that pulsed like veins. It moved with hunger, like a living thing. And it was heading straight for Earth. Inside the ship, the Karn commander stood tall in his chamber. Shadows danced around him. His eyes burned like coals. This was the creature that had hunted Nova's mother, destroyed her homeworld, and chased her across the stars. And now, he wanted to end what he started. But Nova was not running anymore. Jack stood at the edge of the alien ship's command deck, watching her through the glass. His heart pounded. He wanted to call out to her, to stop her, to pull her back. But he didn't. She was no longer just a child. She was a bridge between two worlds. She had become something greater. The elder Ilari woman stepped beside Jack. This is the moment. Nova must decide. If she unleashes the full power of the Star Core, she can stop the Karn, but it could tear her apart. Jack clenched his fists. There has to be another way. The elder looked at him. Sometimes, to protect life, we must risk everything. In the silence of space, Nova hovered just above the black ship's surface. She could feel everything. The fear on Earth, the hope in the stars, and Jack's love pulling at her heart. But also, the voice of her mother. You are not a weapon. You are light. You are love. Nova raised her hands. The Star Core responded. Rings of glowing energy formed around her. Her hair floated like silver fire, her eyes brighter than suns. Inside the ship, the Karn commander opened his arms. Come then, child of stars, he growled. Show me your strength. Nova blinked once, and then dove straight toward the ship. A scream of light followed her. No sound, just brilliance. The impact shook the heavens. Crystal shattered. Pieces of the black ship cracked and exploded. Nova flew through the heart of it like a blade of truth. Her power spread like waves across space, and the dark engines began to fall apart. The Karn howled. His throne chamber broke open, and he was thrown into the void. Nova stopped above him, floating silently. He looked up at her. You cannot destroy darkness. It always comes back. Nova looked down, calm. Then I'll become the light that never leaves. She raised her hands, and the Karn vanished into dust. The remaining pieces of the warship began to collapse. Nova flew out just before it broke completely, and the sky behind her cleared. No more darkness. Only stars. But something was wrong. Jack watched her light flicker. Nova slowed. Her glow faded. She was falling. No, Jack shouted. Without thinking, he ran to the ship's flight platform. The elder tried to stop him, but he jumped. A rescue beam caught him halfway through the fall. It pulled him toward Nova, still unconscious, drifting like a star with no flame. Jack grabbed her and held her tight. Don't you leave me now, he whispered. You hear me? I didn't raise you to burn out. A tear rolled down her cheek. Her eyes opened, weak but alive. "Jack," she said, her voice soft. "I'm here," he said, holding her close. "I've always been here." She smiled. "We did it." They floated together as the ship pulled them back. A week later, peace returned to Earth. Governments had seen the lights. Some called it a miracle. Others called it a warning. But no one ever found out the full truth. Jack's cabin was rebuilt deep in the woods. Nova stayed with him, quiet and happy, though she now glowed only when she dreamed. The Alari ship stayed in orbit, hidden in the clouds, always watching, always near. One evening, Nova sat on the porch, looking at the stars. Jack joined her. "Thinking about your people?" he asked. She nodded. "They want me to return. Lead them, guide them." "Are you going?" Nova looked at him. "Not yet. I'm still both things, Alari and Earth." She took his hand. "And you're my home." Jack smiled. "You're the daughter of two worlds now," he said. Nova looked at the sky, then at the trees, then at Jack. "Maybe that's what makes me whole." A soft light glowed around them. Not from power, not from magic, from love, from choice, from the truth that family isn't just about blood. Sometimes it's about the door you knock on and the heart that opens it. The end.